Today we are going to the Falls of Rough River on the Breckenridge and Grayson County line in Kentucky. This is a very nice painting of the falls with the old green mill in the background done by artist Vicki Brooks. This is the main entrance. The large sign is clearly visible from Kentucky Highway 110. There's nothing like a Kentucky back road on a spring day. We made this journey in mid-April and we could not have asked for a better day. There's a golf course, a bed and breakfast, an ATV park, as well as cabins, in addition to the old green mill and the green mansion, all of which are currently on the property. At one point in time, there were Clydesdale horses here, but this year they appear to be gone. I'm not sure why.
It's only a short drive from Highway 110 to the main parking area. Early spring makes for a wonderful view. We drove quite slowly to capture the flowers in bloom. There is a beautiful split rail fence next to the road with fields of yellow flowers on one side and Rough River on the other. The small parking area is located only feet from the bridge.
This is the bridge over Rough River. It was built in 1877 in Cleveland, Ohio. In a moment, you'll see the plaque commemorating the dedication of the bridge. This type of bridge is a bowstring through truss style. The State Highway 110 used to cross the river here, but at some point in the past it was rerouted, and the bridge is now only open to pedestrians and no vehicles. Walking across the bridge, I can't help but wonder how old the wood they used for the roadbed is.
Crossing the bridge here, we get our first look at the old mill, what is left of the old wheelhouse for the mill and the upper pool of the Rough River.
And here's the plaque that reads, "The bridge was built by the King Iron Bridge Manufacturing Company, Cleveland, Ohio, 1877. Better look at the cabins. They're waterfront. There's an ATV park here. This is the foundation of a building that used to be here that burned down. There used to be an entire town up here. This whole area right here used to have buildings all through it, and it looked like a small town anywhere else in Kentucky. Used to be a ferry that operated right here. Falls of Rough was a small but thriving western Kentucky town of around 250 inhabitants. It consisted of a complex of buildings that included a grist mill, a sawmill, a regular mill, a general store, a post office, a church, and the Green Farm, all built by the Green family.
What you see here is what is left of the Green Mill. There has been an ongoing restoration project for years intended to restore the mill and its buildings to their former glory.
This is the Green Mansion. It was built in 1830 by Willis Green. Willis Green and the Green family built most of the buildings that became the town around the Falls of Rough. Originally, the property was owned by Benjamin Sebastian, who was one of the first Kentucky appellate court judges, but he sold all of the property sometime between 1821 and 1823 to Willis Green. The house was extensively modified in 1879. The Green Mansion is now a charming bed and breakfast, and the information and the phone number can be found on the sign which I'm about to point the camera at. That sign right there. If you'd like to stay at Falls of Rough, feel free to give these folks a call. I'm sure they'll be happy to help you. So this is the precarious entrance to the Falls of Rough. You can do some damage to yourself. Everyone's wet. I've seen people fall and come close to falling in the water here before. There was at one point in time a gigantic water wheel right here. The path here can be quite dangerous. It's very overgrown with thorn bushes. There are several places where the water comes out of the ground or crosses the path. It is advisable to walk slowly because it is very slippery, and a fall over these rocks could be disastrous. While we walk down the path, I'll give you a little bit of my own family history. My sixth great grandfather, whose name was George Eskridge, he was a sergeant under George Washington in the American Revolution, came to Falls of Rough in 1811. He built a log house and operated what was known as the Eskridge Ferry on what was known as Eskridge Ferry Road at that time. There is a historical marker near where his original log cabin that he built in 1811 stood. It is near the dam at Rough River Lake. The marker is quite close to the cemetery where Mr. George Eskridge is also buried. Someday this board bridge is going to break, and somebody's going to have a little tumble down to the bottom, and then the rest of us are just going to have to jump over it until somebody else puts a new board in. I fully expect it to be gone every time I come here. So in 1819, another of my ancestors by the name of Stephen Beecham relocated to the Falls of Rough area and was one of the original settlers of the town. And they were actually in the area prior to Willis Green, who arrived in 1823, who we spoke about earlier. The Beechams stayed in the Falls of Rough area, but they also went down and founded the town of Short Creek, which is several miles down the road, but really not that far away. And here it is, where we made the long walk for what we've all been waiting to see, the fabulous Falls of Rough River. Alright, time for a little history of the actual Falls of Rough themselves. In 1790, the original settler in the area, George Wilson, is said to have built the very first dam. It was a rock dam at what was a rapid or a very small waterfall along what was Rough River at the time. Sometime between 1823 and 1830, Willis Green built another more substantial rock dam that stood until 1855. In that year, the original rock dam that was built by Willis Green was washed out during a flood, and one of his grandchildren, Leif Green, borrowed $20,000 from B.F. Beard to rebuild the dam. That dam is the dam that stands to this day, and the stonework that you see in front of you was done by a gentleman by the name of Edgar Bennett. After years of operation, the sawmill actually ran out of quality trees in the area and shut down in 1933. So basically, within 100 years, they cut down every tree in the area to the point where there was no longer any trees and the sawmill actually had to shut down. One begins to wonder how this even happened. Was it a flood that caused this? Was it done purposefully, maybe? Been here long enough for, upside down at that matter, for this tree to grow right through it and lift it up off the ground over time. Very interesting.
At its peak, the grist mill produced 6,250 barrels of flour a day. The mill ceased operations in 1965.
These three buildings are the only remaining structures on the Breckinridge County side of the Falls of Rough.
Thanks for traveling with us. If you've been to the falls before, be sure to share your stories below and don't forget to subscribe for future updates on all our upcoming travels. See you soon.